Okay, of course, we have to deal with the very vertical video, but we have Michael in the middle of the pool with a black cap, racing his
And,
100 breaststroke.
and
And we're
if you're
just going to
watching the
play it on
video,
loop.
spoiler alert, everyone on the side is already going, "What's with the heels breaking the surface of the water, dude?"
Right. We're looking at these comments like, does the skimming of the heels cause Michael to be less propulsive in his kick? Well, M Who 303, we're going to try to answer that question for you as soon as possible. Spoiler alert. Yes. Turns out pushing on air with your legs is not propulsive. Did you know that, Troll?
I've heard. I think I read that somewhere. Yeah, maybe one of those
Yeah.
.com books. Yeah.
What are like I showed this to you and your reaction is very not safe for not getting us an explicit rating yesterday. What do you see in his breaststroke?
I think one of the things I noticed is the way he swims. He looks like, again, like you see a lot of times with people with longer torsos and taller people like that kind of swimming more out in front. So if you're looking at kind of how long he gets into the stroke and how bad his dad is at camera, uh,
Yeah, geez, keep your son in frame, man.
it's like a hot dog. He had to get a quick bite. It's dripping out. So the good part is obviously that surge he's got going forward, and he's planning kind of on his chest. So I always think about like on breaststroke, like the kind of like that tipping point, like right around. I just kind of imagine like the line from the top of the being almost like the tipping line. You got your center of mass, your hips right below that point, you got your center of buoyancy out in front. So the more that he stays long like that, the more he's keeping weight out in front of his stroke. And so that was going to help him obviously keep his lower back up higher in the water. It's going to keep his legs a lot higher in the water. And so I think that's one of the things he does obviously really well with his height and kind of lunging forward and surging into that and everything kind of coming into one piece, especially at the start of the race. And by one piece, I mean like as the arms go forward, the head goes forward all together. So you get like a summation of those two forces. As he lands the stroke, you get that great surge forward. And you've already got a line that's moving forward. And so then that's kind of where the breaststroke I think is kind of evolved into is the idea that you've already got a moving line going forward. Then you bring the kick in. So you're not trying to create momentum. You're not trying to really hold the water as much as you're just trying to, push a moving line through the water, which is a lot easier and a lot more, a lot less energy to do that. The problem though right now is how his heels obviously are breaking the surface, and so you think obviously like the whole point of your hands feet in the water is more about traction to get the body moving forward rather than the idea you're taught when you're Red Cross, so you're bringing water to you and like little handfuls of water. He's trying to surge forward onto the water, so the feet and the legs are acting like as an anchoring point a little bit as he surges onto that, and then it just keeps the body moving. So it's like driving a car. Car's already going 60. You don't need to keep on, slowing down, pumping the gas, slowing down, pumping the gas. It's like it's already going 60. So
See,
basically, it's just less energy.
I have an idea about what's going on, and I'm just trying to do a freeze frame
Yeah,
for a
good.
second to talk about because I don't want to watch his 50 because you can actually see why he's got so much speed because he does something like it's funny. His dad says this is efficient. I actually think if you look at his 50, it's quite a bit more efficient than his 100. So something is going wrong with him as he's actually trying to slow this movement down and do like quote unquote a long stroke. And it's a really really common thing I see in breaststroke. Um, but basically, the fundamental of it is when as he's like loading up this kick, right? You're going to end up bending your knees to do that. And most people, like in their mind, the movement they think of when they're bending their knees is a traditional squat, right? So bend your knees, squat position. And what happens to your butt when you do a squat? It goes behind you. Now, if we translate that into like a swimming pool, right? That means your hips are moving towards the surface. Okay. Now, um, where are your heels in relation to your butt if you're doing a good squat? they're basically on the same plane. So he's actually doing the wrong movement as he bends his knees. Um, and a lot of people do this in breaststroke, and it's the reason why I see them ending up breaking their plane. The movement that you want to do when you load your kick in breaststroke is not a traditional squat. There's a movement known as a sissy squat, and I credit myself learning this from the very popular social media guy, Knees Over Toes guy. If you want to go find that guy, who's sort of made a living out of being like sort of debunking a lot of the myths about like knee pain and squatting and all that stuff. And I might, as you talk over some other stuff, pull up a video of the sissy squat. But essentially, what you're allowing the knees to do is actually come over the toes, so that you're not like you're not moving that your hips up. Your hips actually slide forward and underneath you as you start pulling, and that creates a little bit of like you make a little bit of a boat shape in your body, and it gives the heels space to have your knees bent and be catching water underneath. So I'm going to start playing the 50 breaststroke, and maybe because I see a little bit more of that movement in it. And then maybe I'll pull up a sissy squat in the background, but I'll listen to you talk a bit first and
Yeah,
respond
I
to that.
didn't. Again, it would be nice water video to kind of be able to jump to that because I didn't want to say anything about that part of the kick because I'm not sure what he's doing there. What I
You
noticed
see
on
how
this
he's
though,
loading it up here? How like
yeah, but
you
if
see
you
how his
stop
hips
right
sort of
there, that the head position I think is kind of part of it here. And what I was getting to is when he throws the head back that hard, and so when he's being a little more dramatic like that, the back arch is hard and the heels get drawn up, and I think that's kind of why what was kind of jumping to with the idea of the heels breaking the water. I mean, as soon as he hits the water, it's already
Now that
jumping.
we've made
His heels are jumping out of the water, and he's slipping the kick. I think he's forcing that upward part of his stroke, so that upward kind of surging motion by doing that
right,
really dramatically. It's forcing the hips a little bit down, and possibly like you're saying with the knees, and the heels come right to the surface, and then it catches air, and so they're sliding around. So kind of elaborating more on what I was saying before with the idea that they're not trying to create force on that kick. It's more of like maintaining tempo. Like you're just creating this vortice behind you where you're just kind of like, spinning the water almost to keep that speed going for a 50 versus like doing 8 separate jump squats of loading up, lunge, loading up, lunge is like, trying to maintain a speed. And he looks again, like you said, like he's kind of loading up hard. And by doing that at that particular moment, especially when his head goes up hard like that, the heels kind of break out of the water. And so by loading so hard like that, it's it's throwing the stroke off quite a bit. And I think it was around the 7th or 8th stroke, you can just see all of a sudden everything kind of changes. Like the head position changes, the weight changes, and again, it's like it's only a 50. Why is the stroke changing that hard? Like right there, that one, and then
right.
it shifts from one side to this other kind of a stroke a little bit more.
And I
And
actually had
what
an impression this was better, but there's still there's so
I
much
Yeah,
air
I
on
thought
his
I kind of
heels.
liked the 100 a little bit better in a sense because the 50, um, again, it's like he starts out through this part of the stroke, it's one stroke, and then it shifts over. And I think what he was trying to do is he's trying to force it too much. In the 100, what I liked about it is I think what his dad was saying with the efficiency was like he wasn't really over swimming it as much as he seemed to do on the first half of this 50 breaststroke, where again the tempo seems to be dropping. And I don't have it'd be nice to have the metrics on that, but it definitely looks like a change as far as like how much distance he's getting with that tempo. The 100, it just again, he looked like he didn't have it from the go, but it looked like he was doing the best he could with the stroke. This one right in here also starts to get muddied up.
Yeah, and I would say he's still like, what do you think about this? Like, I've sort of freeze framed it on what I mean by a sissy squat. To me, this is more analogous
Yeah,
to like a movement you might find yourself doing in breaststroke versus
yeah.
what people traditionally do, which is kind of like, like you're gonna be lifting your upper body up like this anyway. You're not going to be doing a traditional squat motion where you keep your upper body on this plane. But like people move their hips like they're doing the traditional squat.
What I think is if you took this body and put it obviously like in a breaststroke position, I think what you have then is again as the body surges forward and you kind of hit the water, is striking the surface of the water. You get the water going, flowing from obviously from the chest down towards the hips and through. Is that helps kind of again create that lift in the water, like the hull of the ship. If all of a sudden, like you said, you brought your knees forward hard, you'll see the lower back up out of the water, which a lot of coaches are like, okay, that's what I want. I want, lower back high in the water. But if you're doing it because the knees are forward, it creates a huge amount of drag all at once. And so you get
Right.
that kind of start, stop. And so I think it's a good hypothesis of what's going on with the stroke. I haven't seen the underwater to know if that's what's going on. So again, it'd be interesting to just kind of the mindset going into that event. What was he trying to do with those strokes, to kind of gauge where things have gone wrong.
I
It
know
is
we
kind
need
of
to.
funny how
Makes me want to
people
pull up some
away.
underwater of him in the breaststroke.
All right, because it's funny to get. We were talking about this earlier that we're just such a outcome based sport where it's like, well, he's an Olympian, therefore this must be great. And so I wonder, how many people are like, hey, well, let's just try getting your heels out of the water on this next race here. They can all of a sudden everyone trying to mimic whatever they see. But yeah, I think something's gone a little off on the stroke, and you got no idea why.
Oh my gosh, we could watch. We missed. We didn't know we could watch Brett Hawke and Michael Andrew race a 25 freestyle.
I thought that was Joe Rogan. Brett's getting bigger. Holy
I
cow!
know. Yeah, Brett's looking. He says he's making a comeback. Next year for Masters Worlds. Let's see if this 50 breaststroke has any underwater shots in it.
Now, to quote
No,
LL Cool J, "Don't call it a comeback. He's been here for years.
I feel like we probably have to get
Guy's ready to roll, man."
100 breaststroke Olympics, but this is Olympic trials,
There'll be
and I
some in
don't.
there.
There's got to
Sure.
be underwater footage, but like I'm
Yeah.
just
Go ahead.
scrolling through. Just scrolling through, it doesn't seem like there is any underwater footage. It's all
But
over the
you
water.
can at least it's got enough top angles though where you can kind of see where the heels are as far as like
Okay.
showing how novel this is right now with this stroke.
So this is him like setting the American record. So it was representative of him. You can see him racing, at his absolute best.
Was this back when you had that love affair of just the posters on the wall and things like that, or
I can't
was
remember
it,
when exactly it was I fell out of
or
love with.
when did the luster wear off?
It might have been at this meet.
Was it? I thought it was Olympics, or all of a sudden, poor little Chris had to take that poster down from his bedroom wall.
There was a bit of a COVID thing going on as well, I have to admit. So there he's got the black cap in lane 4 in the middle.
So swim academy. So are they like taking people in, kind of like a race club or something like that, or
I think they're always willing to take somebody in.
really? All right.
No, it's the same.
That's the things. Yeah, he's actually hitting the surface of the water right there too. He's always had kind of a big kick, I thought, but again, it works for him.
If you look, the
But
previous
the head
Brett Hawke
position.
podcast long form interview with him, he actually tries to justify that this is good because again, that's sort of the bubble that they're in. He will
Yeah,
like say like, I have a good kick, my kick is
I
good.
but I just thought, like, again, we commented this after the Olympics again, that first kick, how big it is underneath the water, how he really seems to decelerate pretty quickly at that point. And also his head position starts to change abruptly as he got close to that first wall. Um, yeah, but you still see even there he's breaking the surface. So I wonder if it is a lot of it. Yeah, on that second or third to last stroke, you kind of see like what you're saying about the knee position kind of coming up and underneath him pretty hard. And that coupled with the length that he keeps out in front of his stroke is probably what's bringing the heels up hard like that. So next one probably.
Yeah, I can't just stop it on the right moment. But
There is, I think this is the one in here also. He's coming up hard as he kind of, it's almost like he's trying to load up for that last surge. And so by doing that, he's
yeah,
loading up by like really driving forward with the legs to get like that one solid push, or like you said, like that one solid squat. Like all of a sudden you switched from like, squatting 200 to I'm going to get one on 400 in right now.
right. And like, yeah, maybe you could get a little more force production by bending your knees like that. But you're also like under the water, you're creating a flat like point of resistance versus an elliptical point of resistance.
Yeah. Yeah. And so
So like,
again, when you're making strokes, you always have to kind of like think about what the balance is on this. If you want more force, what are you going to be giving up? Are you going to get
yeah,
more lactate production? Are you going to get more drag? And so that's the interesting thing I think with all these strokes. That's what I like about breaststroke again is you got to modify it obviously for all these different body types. Not everyone is going to be completely symmetrical. You're going to have people with longer torsos, longer arms, longer legs, what have you, and you have to adjust the stroke accordingly. And so again, obviously he's done a great job with what he's got, but right now, obviously the little bit you see in the Olympics is becoming more pronounced right now.
I mean, okay, so just for fun at the end, should we watch Joe Rogan slash Brett Hawke race Michael Andrew in a 25? You know,
I I guess we
are
need
you
to,
game
yeah.
for that?
Yeah, what I need to do is I need to hire my 10-year-old son for the summer to stand in the corner of this room and flap his arms up and down so the lights start going off on me. But either way,
Okay, I'm just gonna load it up in the background, and then I'm gonna actually, because it's a lot of Brett Hawke talking. I can only assume that he's talking some smack.
and he's
You
getting in his
know,
head. It's a savvy veteran move probably on his
that's right.
part.
I mean, what else does he have at this point? Um, I just mean on Michael Andrew. He has many other things. I want no offense to Brett. Okay, here we go. They're gonna go from a push. Oh no, they're still warming up. Brett's got to do some sculling.
Dang! I think what Hawks done though, is just kind of a classic, like those dudes that get in the weight room thinking that what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift a lot more weights to get better at the 100 fly, and they just lift themselves out of an event because it just changes their body position so drastically. So he'll be fine
But
for 50, but nonetheless,
I'm sure he's going to
side
swim
by
fast at
side,
Masters Worlds.
yeah, I got a feeling.
Okay, so we got Brett. Sorry, let me just make sure I understand. Brett's on the right, Michael's on the left. We're gonna we're gonna see this 25 showdown. Three, two, one. It's pretty good. Like a stroke back, Brett Hawke. All right.
I think what Brett needs to work on there is that feels the top of the stroke, man. He looks like he's just trying to exert his dominance over the water, and it's not working as well as it used to. He's losing his feel.
He's not following his own advice. You know what I mean? He's always talking about how you relax when you're trying to sprint. He's forcing it way too hard. I think you're right.
Maybe
Well,
that TikTok got backfired on him. Yeah. All
yeah,
right.
Joel, thanks as always.
Oh, thank you.
Um, uh, Good luck today in whatever it is you're doing. And thanks to all the listeners. Watch for the YouTube version of this, guys, if you want to see the race footage as we're talking about it. And otherwise, I'll be back next week with Trevor again and maybe Joel again on Thursday. We'll see what
All right.
happens in our lives. Okay. Bye, guys.
See you later.